British pound, all those things, euro. Me being still not rich now, I think it's a messed up mind of mine, because would not even equal to what I make in a year. Let me keep quiet. Let me keep quiet. Let me not go deeper there. Well, 1.4 billion traumatized me. It did. Welcome to Numbers and Life. My name is Bongani Masilela. Few years ago, I used to work, many years ago, I used to work in banking space, international banking to be specific. Worked a little bit in OTT, outward telegraphic transfers, every other international payment that would leave the country South Africa in rands and would be converted to a different currency, Swiss franc, Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, all that, Egyptian pound, USD, British pound, all those things, euro. But I spend most of my time in the ITTs, inward telegraphic transfers, when the funds would come into the country, and when they come into the country, you would then look if these funds are legit. You would look at the bank, MT03s. You would look if they come from the correct bank. Are they going to the correct beneficiary, or rather correct recipient? Is the depositor the person the sender of the funds, a realistic person? Are they connected to the ZANU-PF, or are they politically exposed persons, PEPs? And you'll see, are they not in trouble with the United States? All that nonsense. Yes, all that. Yes, all what I'm saying are the qualifying criterias. There may be more criterias now after, of course, Trump got in and all of that. Used to work with a lot of that, and I made a lot of transfers. I'll actually speak about one transfer I made of Mr. Lombard in a different video, which has been one of the most painful stories of my life in terms of a workspace. It could have been wonderful, but it became painful. But one traumatic moment, I worked with big accounts, man. I worked with, there's one video on Soccer 360, one of my channels, which is growing highly big. There's one video that speaks about Kaizer Chiefs and paying certain amounts of money to Maccabi Haifa, 4 million rands and all of that. Made those transfers. I made those transfers. And there was one, there would be transfers of Aquafresh Palmolive. I didn't know before I was in the bank. I learned a lot before I was in the bank about Aquafresh, Palmolive, that they are actually the same company. The Colgate and the soap company are the same company. They are around not Jimiston, I'm not sure. Somewhere around there, either Jimiston, but in the East Rand. They are around in the East Rand, somewhere there. And you would know about lots and lots of the scrapyard companies, people who would buy scraps from China, bringing them into the country. You would learn about that issue of the middleman, drop shipping, because there will be many big payments where there's a middleman. For me being still not rich now, I think it's a messed up mind of mine, because learned about so many businesses. That's when I learned about many people, teachers doing money overseas in terms of teaching online, English, and all those things. So you kind of get exposed to a lot of things when you work in banking, especially international banking, which is where we work. And in terms of what type of payments, inward payments, you would have to change the funds. Some of the clients, they would reject the funds. No, I don't want the funds now. The exchange rate is too low. Let the exchange rate grow bigger. I'm going to call you later. And that will be, those are type of stress you deal with. Sometimes the client will call and say, yeah, you robbed me. I told you to transfer the funds immediately at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. you were on lunch. You transferred the funds when you were coming back from lunch at 1:30. You know what I mean? Those type of situations. So there was one moment when I had to make a transfer, which I was shocked. I was scared. I was scared of making a mistake, because you need to make the transfer into the client's account, but you have to get to put the fees. There's a fee account which goes to the bank and all of that. but making the transfer into the client's account, I was once shocked. I was shocked, but also I got a little bit traumatized because, one, I didn't know. I was scared. I felt like somebody must come assist me, which I did. Ask somebody to come assist me, so that look over, so that I don't make a mistake in this fund. It's a big amount, and because if we make a mistake and there's an exchange rate, because it was after the exchange rate that this money shocked me, and that was the amount was above 1.4 billion, just above 1.4 billion in rands after conversion. That traumatized me because, look, money that I would make in the bank in a day would not even, I would make for the bank in a day, not that I would make, money that I would make for the bank in a day would not even equal to what I make in a year. But there will be these, some of them not just companies, these individual clients. Person will be getting every month about 2 million. Some point in time, I worked with an account of JP Dumini, who was a cricketer in South Africa. You know, a lot of accounts we used to work with. A lot of famous people used to work with in terms of their account. Getting 2 million rands, getting 4 million rands. If it's a politically exposed people, it must go through some checking first. They would get 10 million rands into their main accounts. I'm not talking about the political party accounts. That's why some of these parties, some of these people, when they campaign, I just look at them. Because, let me keep quiet. Let me keep quiet. Let me not go deeper there. Maybe let someone frustrate me. I'll go deeper before elections. Let me not go deeper there. But there would be people who would receive from the same donator, a person who donates. Well, let me not go there. But 1.4 billion rands, that traumatized me. Because I know that I wouldn't have made that money in a year. I didn't make that money in a year. But also the small monies that would come in, I didn't even make 300,000 at the time in a year. And there'd be people who are getting paid that every month. Or those amounts of money, let's say 300, 400,000, 400,000, about 700,000 would come out in twice a month from two different employers for an individual. Because we used to work with companies in investment banking. We used to work with companies, but if the amount is above 50,000 for an individual, it would come to us as well, as long as it's an international payment. That caused a little bit of depression, because I started asking myself, what am I doing in this world? Because there is someone receiving an amount of 1.4 billion rands, because this person is just selling. Do you know what he's selling? He's just selling his private jet. He's just selling his private jet. This is a person, some guy in Cape Town, who was just selling his private jet, and he's just getting 1.4 billion into his account. I spoke to the guy, and he was so simple when he was speaking. He says, and I asked, what is the reason for this amount, 1.4 billion? And I even used that, my voice, you could hear that I was, I became a commentator for that amount. Because when that amount came in, some of the people who were working alongside me, they were looking on the sides. They could hear him when he came. He was so simple, relaxed. He said, oh yeah, I just sold my private. I don't remember if he said one of my private jet. No, he said my private jet. He said my private. I just sold my private jet. I was like, wow. I started questioning in myself if I'm doing enough in this life. And mind you, this was 2016, this was 2017, and 2016, 2017. And later on in 2018, 2019, I would be going through a little bit of some depression and all of that. maybe that banking space all was the cause of all that. Maybe it was the cause of all that. But having been in that space, working in the banking space, and being exposed to that, I can tell you that I got traumatized, and that is one of the transfers. Actually, that could have been, in terms of an individual person, it's my biggest transfer. Of course, in terms of companies, there are a lot of these transfers, 6 billion, whatever. But they would come now and then. They would come. No, they would not come every. Then they would come twice a week, whatever. Others would go directly to the senior people, who would transfer a lot and lot, who were more experienced in the company. You know what I mean? But yeah, some things do traumatize you in life, and I think we should do better in our lives, in these numbers in life, because these are the numbers that would traumatize me, and my life became different. I wish at that time I started, not that I was not working hard, but maybe because I was young, I could have made different decisions about business, about everything. But I can't blame anything, because I must also be happy with the type of people that I have now in my life. I may not have everything that I want, but also I was in a situation that certain type of people have been there for me, and I find myself with good people in my life. People that I'm thankful, I'm grateful for, I'm grateful to have. And the numbers can do so much to you. Numbers can make you happy, but numbers can traumatize you. I was traumatized by 1.4 billion rands. I hope this is not the last day I'm doing a video. If it is, thank you that you're a part of my life. Keep on keeping on.